Analytic Tradecraft Standard 6 describes how to use specific methods to write clear and logical arguments in your analytic products. This is one of the more important standards as it outlines how to develop your primary position for your customer. The general approach to follow is to present clear analysis with supporting information. When crafting your argument, you should consider your claim or judgment. You should also consider the supporting evidence and the reasoning that supports your claim. Since we often work with incomplete or inconsistent information in intelligence analysis, you should make a point of identifying and evaluating any assumptions you may have about your evidence. You may find that your assumptions are affecting the strength of your argument, and you'll need to readjust your argument. Once you have finalized your argument, you need to make sure your methodology is reflected in your analytic product. This includes explaining how reporting, context, historical examples, assumptions, and inferences combine to support your judgments. When it comes time to write your analysis, the most effective way is by presenting one judgment per paragraph and adding supporting evidence and reasoning in subordinate bullets. If your product has multiple judgments, then you should have a main analytic message drawn from the subordinate judgments. Overall, your argumentation should be consistent throughout the product to keep your message clear. So how should you build your argument? Analytic Tradecraft Standard 6 recommends argument mapping and argument evaluation. Argument mapping is a visual representation of an assessment that shows you the structure of your argument and how your evidence and assumptions support this argument. There are 5 parts to an argument map: the claim, subclaim, evidence, warrants, and assumptions. Let's review each of these in more detail. A claim is the primary analytic message you want to substantiate. The subclaim is a subordinate assessment that supports the main claim. Subclaims are formed from groupings of evidence and assumptions to show how the subclaims logically support the claim. Evidence is information that supports a claim or subclaim. Warrants, sometimes called linking logic, justify the logical connection between the evidence and the claim or subclaim. Assumptions are statements that we believe to be true but are not supported with evidence. Once you understand these 5 components, you are ready to build your argument map. There are 2 ways to do this: from the top down or from the bottom up. If starting from the top down, you write the claim at the top of the map with the subclaims below. Then connect each piece of evidence to the most relevant subclaim. Finally, write the warrant that explains the connection between the evidence and subclaim on the bottom line. Argument mapping from the bottom up takes the opposite approach, where you list all evidence in boxes at the bottom. Then, group the similar evidence together that addresses aspects of a claim and summarize each group of evidence into 1 or more subclaims. Next, write the warrant that explains the connection between the evidence and subclaim. The final step is to evaluate your argument by thinking critically about the logic of the argument and its strengths and weaknesses. Whether your argument map is from the top down or the bottom up, this exercise will help ensure the argumentation is solid in your analytic product.